All right, back here today on the Ball Oasis channel. This is installment number four of the shooting guard list that we've done throughout the years. The second of the five positions that we do. We did point guards last week, had a lot of fun with that, and expect nothing less here today from shooting guards. Me and Jacob have spent a lot of time talking off camera about this list, and we said some of the same things last year where there is a clear cut like one and two for this list, but
Yeah,
after that, three through like the 20 or 25 guys that we have that could potentially make our top tens, you could make a case for really any of those guys. And it's the same way this year, where like with the shooting guard list, I personally, and I know in the conversations we've had, you've said a lot of the same thing, Jacob, where, we make our cuts to like 12 or 15, and then we make our final cuts to 10, and we have our honorable mentions, of course. But usually, like for the point guard list, that took me no longer than like 5 minutes to do.
yeah,
This time it took like a couple of days of thinking like who we wanted to really have, just even in that like top 12, even like the top 15 group. This was you really had to dig into this list to decide who made it. So I'm really interested to see. But yeah, was it the same way for you, Jacob?
yeah. I think I had my first was 17 players, and then I cut it down to like 12 and then 10. And I think honestly, six, maybe seven through 15 could go anyway. I think you've kind of said something along that line that so many guys are interchangeable, and it's a way different. The list of like players is different than how point guards were. So
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. See, I would go further. I would go further, like almost through like the 20s. Like we had like 25 guys initially that we could put
yeah,
on this list, and they were maybe like three or four guys who were like just right away cuts. And then after that, you really had to really dig in and be like,
pick and choose. Yeah,
this guy could make it. Talk about a guy like, I don't know if you'll have him on your list, but like, what do you do with like an Aaron Nesmith who was so incredible in the playoffs last year? He was one of those guys that were in considerations for me for a long time, but didn't end up, making the cut. I had a guy like Christian Brown who was really good with Denver last year and has been steadily improving since he's been in the league. He missed the cut for me this time around, but I tried for a little bit to make cases for those two guys to why they could, be a part of this list. But you'll have some names that are left out as always. But I think with this
yeah.
list, you'll see, the we reach a little bit for some guys. We reach a little bit, we project, and I expect our list to look very, very different this time around. Shooting guards is the one where that happens the most traditionally or historically, and I expect that to be the same thing today.
Yeah, I'm sure we had the same top two, and then after that, it's a toss up for anybody.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, without further ado, let's get right into it, Jacob. Honorable mentions. Who are your honorable mentions for the shooting guard list?
I can have a lot of them, but my honorable mentions are Norman Powell and Bradley Beal. I guess Devin Vassell too. Those are my three honorable mentions.
See, I have two, but I have two completely different people.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case for any three. Really, a lot of them to be top 10. I guess it's kind of preference after that, but I tried to make a case for all three to be on there. I even had Lou Dort as honorable mention, kind of. So it's tough. This was probably the toughest list I've done, but I settled those on the first four out.
Yeah. Yeah, those are names that were in consideration for me outside of maybe Bradley Beal. I eliminated Bradley Beal
He,
kind of early
yeah,
just because
I'm
I don't
giving
know
him
what
the
his
benefit of
role
the
will be
doubt.
on the Clippers next year. Coming off of he was okay with the Suns. Like he
Yeah,
was off the bench, he had a pretty nice role, but I couldn't like realistically put him as an honorable mention for me at this point of his career. You said Devin Vassell, and who's the other one you said?
Norman Powell,
Norman Powell. Yeah, I
and
consider Norman Powell.
he Norman Powell's kind of hard for me because he is in Miami now, so he might be in a different role. But um, I guess I'm just higher on the other guys going into the league, and even on some of the lists, it's had to. I guess it's preference because it's hard to be high on some players, but not the other if you haven't really seen the whole lot of big sample size or anything.
Yeah. No, Norman Powell had a great year last year for the
Yeah,
first like half of the season, really, maybe even beyond that. He was the front runner for most improved player. He was averaging like up around 23 points per game, the second leading scorer on that Clippers team. And he was really efficient in doing so. He had his role carved out. And yeah, he's in a new situation now in Miami. So part of that is why I didn't add him to the list. As you'll see, there's another Miami Heat shooting guard on our list that I expect both of us to have in the top 10. He was in our top
yeah,
10 last year. Um, so I couldn't rationalize putting two Miami Heat players in the top 10, especially with both of them coming at the same position. I expect Norman Powell to come off the bench, but I expect him to still be really good in like that sixth man role for the Miami Heat. But
yeah. I agree.
my honorable mentions, like I said, I have two completely different people. One of them is Josh Hart, which I was surprised to see. He was technically a shooting guard last year. They said Mikal Bridges was the small forward. So I went off basketball references listings. Josh Hart is technically a shooting guard, and he just narrowly missed the cut for me. He averaged like 13 points, 9 rebounds, which is way more than anyone else on this list, and
Yeah,
about 5.5 assists. We know Josh Hart is the Swiss Army knife guy in New York. He can give you a little bit of everything, but he missed this list mainly because of his playoff output. He had a really rough playoffs, especially later on against the Indiana Pacers in that last series. He even struggled a little bit against the Detroit Pistons in the first round as well, where he was out of that lineup. He was substituted out for Deuce McBride in a lot of, key moments where the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau decided he would rather have Deuce on the floor than Josh Hart. So that played into my decision making a little bit. Still a great player, though, as we know, can do a little bit of everything on the floor. And my other guy, he missed it last year just barely, and he's gonna miss it just barely again. And, you know, he will probably be in your top 10, and I completely understand. I had him in my top 10 initially, but I just still have a lot of questions with him and talk about a guy who kind of regressed in the playoffs. This guy did the same. That's Jalen Green. Jalen Green is just barely gonna miss it for me this year. Once again, he was right outside last year. And I know he'll
he
have he'll have more of a role in Phoenix where he'll be, we think he'll be the second guy behind Devin Booker. You expect his numbers to go up. But outside of that 38 point performance in game one against Golden State, he was really bad in the playoffs outside of that. And just the inconsistencies with this game still, the inefficiencies shooting, his playmaking didn't really take a big jump forward last year. And it's a deal where he was kind of just lost in the shuffle, where you didn't really know what his role was with that Rockets team. As long as he was on the floor and in the lineup, he's going to score, he's going to produce offensively, that. But with Şengün being like their number one guy really last year, their real number one option, and Fred VanVleet really taking the role of the main perimeter initiator in the playoffs. Jalen Green was just kind of lost in the shuffle, and I think on a real winning contending team right now, I don't think that he is that kind of a guy yet. I don't think that he is kind of that takeover type of guy who can really, consistently produce in a high leverage setting. He's a really good player. He's a really talented player. I just need to see a little more, and I need to see him take a step this year in Phoenix for him to be in the top 10.
he wasn't in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah, I guess you can throw him into the honorable mentions, but so on my list I have the 10, and then I have like 7 players after that is like the honorable mention pool. So it was
Yeah.
just he was in that pool. It's just kind of hard to. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been that high on Jalen Green, especially now. I think he I don't know if it was a reliable source. I think he's going to have the ball more in his hands in Phoenix this year. That's what I saw. Like him running the point guard more.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that'll go. I know we did some in Houston, but I don't know how that'll go in Phoenix.
Yeah. We talked about it some in the point guard episode where Jalen Green just kind of fits that mold of player that's the combo guard who's like
Hmm.
inefficient, will give you 20 points per game, but it doesn't really equate to winning. He's a minus defender. The only difference really with Jalen Green is that he is a little bigger. He's like 6'5", and he's
Yeah,
uber athletic. You'll see that with another guy who I'll mention. But Yeah, Jalen Green, I think at this point of his career, he fits that mold of player. And the step for him to get out of that, I think, is to become a better playmaker. We've seen
Yeah,
guys, do that in the past and really exit that mold of player. And I think if Jalen Green wants to do so, playmaking, like you said, more of a point guard role in Phoenix could, potentially help him to do so. So I'll be watching closely, but I'm gonna wait another year for Jalen Green to crack my top 10.
yeah. I had to wait on it. I don't think was he in yours last year or he
He
wasn't? He was in
was.
varsity.
Yeah, he
Okay,
was in my honorable mentions last year.
okay. Yeah, I can't remember if he was in mine or not, but yeah, I just have to wait and see how this first year in Phoenix goes to kind of would have to push some of these guys out next year.
Yeah. Which will be hard to do because a lot of these guys are young and we have me and Jacob said before this episode, we have four new guys on this list who were not in there for each of us last year. So yeah, it's gonna be a hard thing to do. Give me your number 10 while
Ha-
we're at it.
Do you, how many role players do you have on this list? Like, how many of these guys you think are like could just be role players outside of the top? I guess how many role players do you think we have on this list?
How many of these guys would I classify as role players? That's a good question.
Yeah,
There are one, two, three. See, it's tough with some of these guys because they're like breakout candidates.
yeah.
So I don't know like what their role really is yet. Some of these guys are pretty young, so I don't know like what their role is yet. But I would say I have like three solidified role players that will be role players next year.
Okay, so okay because the name of them like they just seem like role player guys, but I guess they don't have. Well, if you try to consider breakouts, and a lot of them aren't number ones on their teams, or they could be. Uh, okay. I'm trying to just check my list, see if I won't have any last minute changes, so I don't end up like last time.
Yeah. I mean, you can always change it as we go, but
Yeah, I'm high on one player, but I don't know how high I want to be. But anyway, my number 10. This is where I have Shaden Sharp, have your guy.
okay.
Um,
Respect. Respect.
we've kind of seen the breakout kind of slowly happen these last few years. Last year he averaged 19, 5, and 3. I didn't realize he shot 7 threes a game. He
Yeah.
shot 31% from 7 attempts from three. I just kind of think it's the year for his solidified breakout. I know you kind of waiting on that for Scoot too.
Yeah.
But I think he'll have a bigger role. I think I didn't put how many games he started last year, but
It was 52. He started 52
started
games.
52. Okay, I know he played 72. Is he start? You think he's starting this year?
Yes, for
Should
sure.
should okay.
100%.
I think then if he has the starting role, I think he'll break out. I know they want to give the ball to Scoot more, kind of let him develop. That's why you bring. So you brought Dame back, but you also brought Drew Holiday in. Holiday off the bench, or is he starting?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of like conflicting things. I would have Drew Holiday off the bench, but I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, but either way, he has two vets kind of to help him out, mentor him. We know his athletic ability, probably one of the best dunkers in the league, or it seems like it from the highlights. We say a lot about him. But I'm kind of counting him to break out. I almost had him above the next guy. I'm not really high on the next guy at my number 9, but I really just couldn't find a reason, just kind of off the sample size of him kind of going any higher. But I am pretty high on Shaden Sharp this year.
That's good for me to hear. I thought you would have left him off completely. So for you to have Shaden on this list, um,
I'll let y'all know he tried putting Jared McCain in the pool to get me to
I thought you would
be pretty
bite.
high on him.
I thought
I
you.
thought about it. If he didn't play 26 games last year, I might have, but we'll see this year. I'll
Yeah.
have some pretty nasty agendas to push halfway through the year.
Talk about next year's list, guys coming in. Jared McCain will be on
DJ
that list
Edgecombe.
next year.
Yep.
But but I like the Shaden respect. I'll talk a little more about Shaden. I have him a little higher than 10.
Yeah.
My number 10, this is where I have Dyson Daniels. I have
Okay.
Dyson Daniels here at number 10. He's one of the three role players who I
Mhm.
consider role players on my
Yeah.
list. But he's about as good as a role player as it gets. He led the league in steals far and away last year, 3 steals per game. And the only person like who challenged him steal rate wise was Matisse Thybulle, who only played 15 games and was still behind Dyson Daniels, who played 76.
Mhm.
Even offensively, Dyson Daniels took a step forward offensively
He did.
He was 14.6 rebounds, 4 assists last year, shot 34% from three. And a lot of nights he was the primary initiator offensively whenever Trae Young missed some games last year. He really showed some playmaking prowess. And we know defensively like what he's going to be at this point. He's so disruptive. He's an island in and of himself. He made some clutch defensive plays last season. And he's a really, really great guy to have alongside Trae Young. And he's the perfect guy to have in a backcourt with a player like Trae Young. And I don't know like what the step forward for him would be, where like Jalen Johnson, you hope that Jalen Johnson's back for most of the year this year. Maybe Dyson Daniels' role is a little, smaller, especially bringing in Porzingis
Yeah.
to theoretically play a big role. So offensively, I don't know like if his role has really a lot of room to expand this upcoming season, but we know defensively what he brings, and that alone put him in my top 10. Like I had to add him in my top 10 just because he was first team all defense, steal leader by a mile, and the
He was
defense
in my
just pops. It
he was
pops.
in, he was MIP, right?
Yes, most
Right.
improved player.
Yeah. Yeah, I had him a little higher. I think this range of guys is really interchangeable, especially for me. That's kind of I told you I was so back and forth. I told you yesterday, back and forth with these guys, but I have him a little higher. His defense, his really his offensive output, he averaged. I want to say it was close to was it 6 or 7 more points this year in Atlanta,
Yeah, I
something
think
like
it was
that.
like, yeah.
Kind of crazy how the defense New Orleans could have if they figured it out and had their kept the trio of Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and Dyson Daniels. But yeah, I have him a little higher. His defense really kind of got me to put him a little bit higher, and it's kind of funny to say because there's some players on this list who's not very good at defense, but I just probably need to see another year of him, and I'd probably have him a little higher. I have him higher on this list, but I agree that the defensive output he played, the best player most nights on defense.
Yeah.
Not really much to say. You covered it, MIP, and I thought about saying he could have another jump in points, but it's going to be kind of hard with KP being there, Jalen Johnson coming back. So it might drop some, but that defensive role will probably still be there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll get my number 9 first. This is where I have Shaden Sharp. I couldn't go any higher than 9 for Shaden, even
Yeah.
though I kind of wanted to, because like you said, his role, he expect expect Shaden Sharp to be like a 22, 23 point per game scorer this next season. He'll be,
I think I had him at 24 this year.
yep, I can see it. He should be the second offensive option behind Denny Avdia with the Portland offense this upcoming season. He the 20 games where he came off the bench, I do want to talk about that because those came in the middle of the season. He started the season as a starter, was moved to the bench, and then eventually put back into the starting lineup. He was benched because of his poor defense. And that's really been something he's been maligned for up until this point of his career, where Chauncey Billups like said, "Hey, if you're not going to defend to the level we want you to defend, we're not going to start you." And so
I like that from a coach. Yeah.
yeah, he sat for a month and a half of the season on the bench, and it was around All-Star break whenever he finally came back to the lineup. And All-Star break on, he was great. Had multiple like 35 point per game point or 35-point performances. Was really really sharp. Like you said, 31% from three is a little spooky.
Yeah.
His rookie season, he shot 36, so we know he's a better shooter than 31% from three. But really need to see him have a better shooting season this next year. In that post All-Star game stretch, he was 36% from three, which is right at the mark that he set at his rookie year. He's going into year 4. He's technically played only 2 full seasons. He missed most of his second year with injury. So there's a lot of room to improve for Shaden. He's still 21, 22 years old. He's very, very young. And I'm hesitant, and I talked about it a little bit in the last episode, talked about it a second ago with Jalen Green, that echelon of players that are, the good scores, high volume scores, not super
Yeah.
efficient, minus defenders. Right now, Shaden looks to be on track to be one of those guys. My hope with him, my hope with Shaden Sharp is like his shot diet is very different. He was one of the best rim finishers for a guard last season, shot like 76% at the rim, which is crazy for a guard. And we know with his athleticism and like you said, his ability to, leap had 5 of the 10 highest vertical jumps in the NBA last season on dunks and layup attempts. He um he has the catalog to be an elite finisher, and he was that last year. So if he can continue to do that, I think he projects to be a really good three-level scorer. But defensively, like he's shown whenever he's engaged defensively, he has the tools to be at least a decent defender. And I think that's
Yeah.
the next step. That's the next step along with playmaking. He averaged 3 assists per game last season. I think with more of a like on ball, pick and roll ball handler role, I think we could see his assists and his playmaking really improve. But my biggest thing, I'm looking for a more efficient shooting season. I'm looking for a better defensive output and just more consistency just in general from the 21, 22-year-old guy who I've been impressed with already, even despite his shooting struggles. I was really impressed with him the second half of last season. And I don't know like what his ceiling is at this point. For a little while, I thought he could be like, the franchise guy, the number one guy. I
Yeah.
don't I don't think that's him. It's still like it's still to be determined whether he is or not. But at this point, I don't see him as that, but I think he could be a good number two guy. And that's the hope. I hope that he can be that this upcoming season on the Blazers. So I have him at number 9. I couldn't go higher than these other 8 guys here, but I do think Shaden Sharp will be a much improved player in complete this next season.
Did bringing Drew Holiday in, that definitely help his defense. Or I know Drew Holiday is not the defender he once was, but he's still pretty, the IQ of a good defender.
Yeah.
So that he can definitely learn from him and improve on the defense. I don't think like I get that role of the the scoring guard with the negative on defense, but if he can just be serviceable, probably. I didn't watch a whole lot of him last year, but if he could be serviceable, I feel like, or just not a negative on the defensive end, it'd be really important for Portland.
It definitely didn't help too. I'll say one more thing. It definitely didn't help too that he was playing alongside Anthony Simons, who was also very much that
Yeah,
caliber of player, where he is just like
yeah,
one of the worst defenders in the league. But offensively, his gravity takes a lot of attention off. So Shaden Sharp will be facing a lot better defensive attention this next season. So I'm really
yeah,
interested to see like what he does with that. But defensively, yeah, I think he'll definitely benefit from having a better defensive unit around him than he had last season. With Anthony Simons out of the lineup, Shaden Sharp averaged 28 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists in 10 games last year, and the Blazers were 7-3. So small sample size, but could be something there.
yeah. I don't have DeAndre Ayton holding back the defense either. So,
Lakers, that's all y'all. Yeah.
um, my number 9, I have this is where I have Austin Reeves.
Interesting.
It was kind of hard to gauge him. Um, One of the best number threes in the league. He averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. I didn't realize he averaged that many assists because you think, LeBron and Luka have the ball in their hands a lot more.
Yeah.
38% from three on 7 attempts. This is why I asked you about the role player thing, because I can see a lot of these guys being role players. It just kind of, it is not on them. It's in their situation. It's like Luka. I mean, not Luka. Austin Reeves, you kind of don't really see him being a star type player, but that's just because Luka and LeBron's there, right now. Now, if LeBron retires in, 5 more years, whatever it is, he maybe can improve, but I've kind of like, I don't want to say because he's better on defense than I thought he'd be, but I
Yeah.
don't want to say he's been capped at that, high scoring, what we've been talking about with a lot of these players, the negative defense. But his playmaking, I didn't realize, he was that much better of a playmaker as he has been.
hmm
It's just kind of his role. I really couldn't put him any higher. It's kind of like how you did for point guards. Like, who would you rather have, this guy or this guy?
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of couldn't find a way to put him any higher. But I think from what we've seen from him, I kind of had to have him in the top 10. I'm assuming you have him, but
Yeah.
we'll
I do.
see how high you have him.
Yeah. Well, what I would say separates Austin Reeves from those other guys, like you said, is the playmaking average 6 assists per game, but also
Mhm.
his shot catalog. He is one of the
It's
best guards in terms of like foul rate, free throw
yeah,
line
mhm,
percentage. He gets to the line almost more than anybody in the league. He is constantly like probing in the paint. He's very good at drawing fouls. So I think that separates him from a lot of the guys who are in that caliber of player, like a Jalen Green, who take a lot more contested mid-range shots. You don't really see that from Austin Reeves. He gets in the paint, he gets
Mhm.
2 feet in the paint, he shoots his floater. He's a good three-point shooter, a good efficient three-point shooter, and he gets to the free throw line. On top
Yeah.
of that, he's a good playmaker as well. He was one of the 3 role players that I do have on my list, but I do have him a little higher, so I'll save the rest for a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, Daniels was your number 9, right?
Dyson Daniels was number 10 for me. Shaden Sharp was number 9.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Who's your 8? Or you give my 8.
You can go first here.
My 8 is this is where I have Dyson Daniels.
Okay.
We talked about him. Like I said, a lot of these guys I have kind of the same area, interchangeable. His defense is kind of why I put him ahead. But if that was just the case, he'd be higher versus some of these other guys. But first year, last year, kind of breaking out. You said a lot about him already. We've talked. I expect the offense maybe to drop some, but like I said, that defense, his defensive ability is going to keep him on the floor for Atlanta, especially if they do want to compete this year in a weaker Eastern Conference with a lot of injuries.
Yeah. No, we've said basically everything there is to say about Dyson Daniels at this point. I like that you have him high. I kind of thought that you might not put him on the list at all, but I'm
I
glad
had him.
you
I
have
had him
him
higher.
high.
I had him higher, but I kind of gave some of the other guys the benefit of the doubt. We're getting closer to the guy I told you I have pretty high. I'm trying to debate if I want to move him up even more or just kind of let him
I
sit.
I think we might have the same guy. I honestly think we might. But
Yeah, I'm really debating on a big breakout for this guy.
yeah. My number 8, this was a guy that we talked about last year, and I think we had him both at number 8 last year. That's Zach LaVine. I have Zach LaVine here at
Okay,
number 8.
he's my 7.
Okay, cool. We Yeah, we talked about last year him really needing a change of scenery from Chicago, but we didn't picture Sacramento would be that change of scenery, which is basically the
Bulls
Bulls
West.
of the
Yeah,
West. Um, but Zach LaVine, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists last year. And I think what separates Zach LaVine, who is often grouped in with that group of players, that Jalen Green, that Cam Thomas, that group of players, is Zach LaVine does it way more efficiently than these other guys do. Zach LaVine shot 51% from the field and 45% from three last year on over 7 attempts. I think that's incredible. That's amazing efficiency. But the thing about Zach LaVine is that he's a really minus defender. And you know, we've seen the empty like stats conversation throughout the years. We saw it
yeah.
with Devin Booker for a while. He was able to defeat it. Zach LaVine has really never been able to kind of like defeat that conversation. And I don't think it's entirely fair because he has been on teams that have been playoff teams before like injuries have happened. But like you look at the Sacramento Kings team on paper, you think a team offensively led by Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, like you have the talent level offensively, like that sounds really, really good, right? But I think that just like the type of players these guys are, with DeMar being like a mid-range assassin, Zach LaVine being this he does a lot of the same things. You know, he's a more volume 3-point shooter at this point.
Yeah.
But he's such a weird player to gauge because we feel like we've seen the best of Zach LaVine at this point, but he's like
Mhm.
28, 29 years old. He's still really good. Um, but I feel like yeah, it's really tough with Zach LaVine to see like any type of progression, especially on a team like the Kings that are seem to be stuck again, where you feel like you've seen the best of them a couple of years ago when they were the 3 seed, and there's no real way forward without them really blowing things up. And so yeah. But what do you have to say about Zach LaVine? Because I'm kind of at a loss right now with like what the way forward could be for Zach LaVine.
Yeah, I had him at 7. It's kind of like how you said last episode. It's kind of has he peaked at his as his best, and I didn't realize he was still that kind of. I mean, it's not. I want to say it's young, but 28, 29 is still pretty young, kind of.
Yeah.
I know NBA terms is kind of getting up there, but um, kind of like the plateau. I really think the empty stats conversation is kind of weird. And he really can't help that being in Chicago, who really says they wanted to win, but really didn't show it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Kings. It's kind of they're not putting him in the best position. And you said a lot of it. I debated on. I know I texted you probably last week about do you have him on your list? Because
Yeah.
it's just a plateau. Like could Daniels be better this year? It'd be tough to say, like Reeves or Sharp. It'd be tough to say. It's just he's had that consistency over the last few years, and you expect him really the way he played last year. I didn't realize, like you said, the shooting has kind of improved, especially throughout his career. But if he can kind of keep the shot up, and he's not dunking like we once saw him do, as much. But I just think the situation's holding him back.
Yeah.
My that's my real biggest thing on him.
Yeah. It's weird. Zach LaVine is a really talented player and like he's really fun to watch, especially when he gets going. Like he
Yeah,
is
he had
one
I
of
mean, he had a game last year, almost 10 threes, or maybe not that many, but I felt like he hit that many. He might have.
yeah, he's the type of guy though that will give you like 4 or 5 in a row. Like he can get
Yeah,
hot like that, and it's really fun to watch. So it's really weird too with the trajectory of his career. Like he's only been in the playoffs. He's only been in one playoff series ever, and this is like his ninth or 10th year in the league now, which is crazy to think about.
was it with Minnesota?
No, he never did.
Who was it? Was
It was with
Chicago?
Chicago a couple years ago whenever they got swept by the Bucks.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't think last time they made the playoffs.
Yeah, but before that, like he was the oldest guy in the league who had never made the playoffs. He was like 27 years old and had never made the playoffs.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it sucks to see like that losing has been so closely attached to Zach LaVine. Not even losing, just like being on mid teams. Like
yeah,
he's never on like terrible, terrible teams. Just mid teams with like no way forward.
yeah. Like even in Chicago, like the early years where they looked really good. I forgot what year it was, but they started 20 and 25-10. They were like the number one seed for a
Yeah, they
while
were the one
in the
seed
East.
like post the All-Star break.
Yeah. So outside of that year, it's kind of like just the mid teams, and you really can't fault him for it because he can't, really help it. But
Hmm.
it just kind of feels like he did get kind of wasted a little bit with some of this team management he's kind of been on.
Yeah. Number seven. He was your number seven, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm debating. I think I might switch my number six and my number seven right here.
I I wonder if we all have if we've had the same player so far, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, no, I'm looking at my player too that I've been talking about.
I think I
Debating
am
on
going to
it,
do
but
it. I'm going to move Austin Reeves down from number six to number seven. I initially had him at number six, but I'll put him at number seven.
all
Uh,
right.
like you said, he was a really great third option for the Lakers last year, one of the best third options in the NBA. It doesn't get much better than Austin Reeves, and he's not going to, be a great defender or anything, but offensively, I think the trajectory of his career offensively is really, really fascinating to watch, where he was a second round pick, undrafted afterthought
Yeah.
guy, and he turned himself into like one of the most prolific offensive guards in the NBA, which is crazy to think about rate wise. Like his rate stats all they flash, talk about like I said, free throw rate and his efficiency in the mid range and in the short mid range. He's great. He's amazing. And I think at his best, he is really that floor setting guy who can, take enough attention off of Luca and LeBron to like give them, the ability to, not be bogged down with number one and number two defenders the whole game. Like you have to give Austin Reeves attention or he's shown you he will score 30 points. He's
Yeah.
more than capable of doing so. And we didn't think that was really a possibility whenever he came out of Oklahoma. Um, but yeah, I think as long as like you said, LeBron and Luka are both there, he's confined to that third guy role. And I think
Yeah.
that's fine. I think that's fine. I don't really see like even if LeBron had retired already, him being much better than he already is, but I don't know
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's already exceeded a lot of the expectations that were set for him coming out of college and then after his first couple of years in the league, he's gotten better year in year out. So I think Austin Reeves' progression has been really cool. I have him at number seven. I think that's a cool spot for him. I think I could see him very well being in the same spot next year.
Yeah. Say like the plateau argument. I think his scoring can go up, but like I said, it is Cap being the third guy there. Um, which 20 points as a third option is still pretty good. It's just kind of what else he can do, I guess. Like, could he take the playmaking role once Luka's on the bench? But I know they have Marcus Smart there.
Yeah. I forget about that. That's kind of a weird thought.
Yeah, I forgot about it until I think I heard somebody talking about it one day, and I completely forgot about it.
Hmm. Number six. Is this where you have your guy? I have my guy
Mm,
here.
no.
Okay. Give me your number
So,
six first.
um, this is kind of another weird player that we've been talking about. This is why I have Tyler Hero.
Okay.
Um, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 47% on 18 field goals, and 36 from three on 9 attempts. He averaged 3 turnovers last year, and I mean it's kind of weird, him being the. I don't really think of him as like their playmaker. I think of it as Bam sometimes,
Hmm.
but I know Tyler Hero has improved over the past few years in playmaking. I did Davion Mitchell. How much did he have there? But he started last year, didn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't get there until like after the All-Star break, so he
Since
didn't get a
after All Star
lot of
break.
time.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be more of their playmaker this year, but it's hard to say with their offense with Bam. Um,
I think it'll be Tyler Hero.
you do okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, he's hard to gauge. He is one of the better flamethrowers in the league. The typical scoring guard about the defense, but I don't really just think he gets targeted like that on defense, like you would think somebody would of thinking of that guard type mold.
Yeah.
Um, I just kind of couldn't put him any higher because I have these guys above him, kind of not breaking out. Well, one I have breaking out, but the other guys I've had above him just kind of more consistent. And it's like who would you rather have on a winning team? But just funny to say, but I just couldn't put him any higher. I think the playmaking will improve, the scoring could improve as they finally they're not going into the Jimmy drama this year, so more focus on playing, less on everything around them, on GM stuff, coach stuff. He's just weird being on the Heat. It's like a weird situation. We say that every year. It's just a weird situation in Miami.
Yeah. I have him a little bit higher.
Yeah,
I'll just say this right now. I really liked Tyler Hero's season last year. From what I
it's
saw, he
it's a
looked
lot better than
good.
what I thought it'd be. Yeah, like doing the list, I had him a little higher, I think, and I moved him down. But looking into the stats, and I watched some stuff about him, it looked a lot better than I thought it did.
Yeah.
Which it is kind of hard to watch every game of every team, but some of the flashes I saw, he really did improve the playmaking. That was my biggest kind of get from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely can improve again. I could definitely see him being higher next year. It's just I'm counting on the guys above him, I guess, a little bit more than him.
Yeah. He emerged as the Heat's number one option last year.
Yeah,
He really did.
a lot of that you think is from Jimmy not being there, or Jimmy not being there, basically
See,
missing times and all that.
Even when Jimmy was on the team, Tyler Hero was the number one option last
Yeah,
year.
he kind of he took over some of those games. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bam was not nearly as good as I thought he would be last year offensively.
Well, what was it? 3 points attempts or
Yeah,
something?
which I'll have to dig into the numbers whenever we do centers. He wasn't like nearly as good as I said he would be, but he was not bad either. He
Yeah,
showed
he
him,
shot more. Yeah, yeah.
but not nearly to the level I thought he would. But yeah, I'll tell the hero a little higher. I'll talk a little more about him when I get there. This is my like projected guy who I think will have a really good year next year, who already had a pretty good statistical year this year, but I think with a increased role and more freedom, especially offensively, I think this guy is really going to shine. At number six, I have Trey Murphy. Is that your guy?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay. I figured it would be. Um,
Yeah, we're getting close to him. I'm still debating on if I move
yeah.
him up or not.
Sorry for spoiling, by the way, but I figured it would be.
I
Had
figured we'd both be kind of high on him. I've kind of felt it.
Yeah, just the type of player Trey Murphy is, being like 6'8", 6'9", as a shooting guard. He's really interesting. There isn't really like another player in the league like him because he can give you a little bit defensively too, but offensively, like the steps he's made every year have been really encouraging and really cool to see. He was a volume three-point shooter last year. over 8 attempts, shot 36% from three. One of the most athletic guys in the league, had some really crazy dunk highlights last year, averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, and almost 4 assists a game, which I did not see coming from a guy like Trey Murphy, who's
Yeah.
operates mainly as an off guard, with not much playmaking in his game before this point. So I think the strides he's made offensively are really cool, and I can see him being like a 25 point per game scorer next season on a
Mhm.
New Orleans team that will likely be not very good. And I think that he will be the second option next to Zion Williamson next year. I know DeJounte Murray will miss time, but I think even still, I think Trey Murphy will be the second option on that team at this point. I really like the trajectory of his career. I hope that, as time goes forward, that either New Orleans can figure their stuff out or he gets to a point where he can play winning basketball because I think he would be a really cool player to see on a winning team. I'll save the rest of it for you because I know you have him higher, but I have Trey Murphy here at number 6. I think he takes a leap next season after his leap this year. And yeah, he's a really fun, really cool player to watch.
You may go ahead and talk about him, and I can kind of skip where I had him.
Sure, yeah.
Originally, I had him. I had him at 3 originally,
Wow.
but I moved down on him. He's my number 4.
Okay.
Um, honestly, I think he'll be the number 1 this year. That's just because I think Zion will miss time. And
Yeah.
I know I've kind of been big on here believing in Zion, but he misses time every year. I keep saying this the last year, but I think he can. I think he can score 25 points a game next year
I
or
do
this
too.
this upcoming season. I want to say it was a 5 point jump from last year. It was
Yeah.
16 to 21, I think. One of the best. I don't say one of the best 3 and D guys, but the ability to be one of the best 3 and D guys. He's one of the players where during the draft, if Philadelphia traded that number 3 pick, he's one of the players that I would have wanted, like in a
Mm.
trade back or any type of deal. Or we have that guard jam or whatever with Maxie McCain, Edgecombe. He's one of the guys that I'd be willing to move maybe McCain for. It's kind of hard to say the projection of McCain. It's kind of hard to say, but he's one of the guys of how much would you trade for him, and I'd probably trade a lot for him. I think this is the year for him to break out. Like I said, I had him at 3 at first, but I couldn't do it. I didn't want the slander from you on one of your guys. That's pretty high, but I think this is the year he finally like actually breaks out. And like you said, it'd be a bad New Orleans team. There's a lot of weird fits on that team, so I think if Zion does miss time, I think he will be their main scoring option. And kind of I hadn't looked too much into the roster, but I hope he doesn't get held back from roster construction. So he's
Yeah.
my number 4.
Yeah, he's been a hypothetical trade candidate of ours for like a couple of years now. And whenever like Dame was first being traded from Portland, like the New Orleans
Go get
package of
him.
Herb Jones and Trey Murphy was like my favorite out of the bunch. Like I would have loved to get that. But yeah, his that's like deep shooting ability. He's one of the best deep
Mm,
shooters in the league. Like his 3 point shots come from like 28, 29 feet regularly, and he knocks them
yeah,
down. He's a really great shooter. I think that there's potential for him to be an all-star here in the next few years. But like I said,
yeah,
it's just like on a New Orleans team, how much notoriety will he get? How much will he be on people's radars? I think if he's averaging like we think he could, 25, 26 points per game, like he has to be on people's radars at that point. But
yeah.
even still, like, yeah, it's just a deal of, you know, how much can he impact winning where he currently is? And
Mm,
that's a big reason why I couldn't go any higher with him because I don't think that he'll have the ability to do that in New Orleans. So until like that becomes the case, I think that his potential remains just slightly more limited than it would be, but I still think he's
yeah,
a great player nonetheless, wherever he is, and he's really going to show improvement this next season.
yeah. I agree. It, I would like to see him be an all star, but it's kind of hard in the Western Conference with as many good players as they have, and it is fan vote too. So I know a lot of fans really don't pay attention to New Orleans. I don't blame them. Um, I wanted to put him 3. I just couldn't do it. Just the 3 above him, just kind of been set, kind of probably on our list for a while.
Yeah,
Um, did you give your number 5?
I have not yet. My number 5, This is where I had Desmond Bain.
He is my five.
Okay, cool, cool. That's good for me to hear because
That he was the one. Him and Trey Murphy I kind of had before the show back and forth on my 4 and 5.
yeah.
I
By
just
the num
good.
I was just gonna say by the numbers, Desmond Bain was a little down last year. He only averaged
Yeah.
19 points. Was a really improved rebounder last year. He had some games where he had like multiple like double-digit rebound games back to back. He averaged 6 rebounds per game throughout the course of the season. Shot 39% from three, which is a little down for Desmond Bain.
Yeah.
But he's
Big,
got a new role and a new team now in Orlando where he will be like the main guy um, on the perimeter who is
yeah.
like, shooting. It
He
doesn't have to be 30% from three Franz Wagner anymore or
yeah.
32% from three KCP. And you know, hopefully, the Orlando Magic curse won't hit Desmond Bain where his 3-point shooting goes down to like 34%.
30, yeah.
It'd be really hard to see a world where that's the case. He's just really solid, really consistent, and I think he was a great addition to that Magic team who has a real chance to contend in the
Mhm.
Eastern Conference next year.
Yeah, the 6 rebounds really shocked me because you don't think of him as a rebounder at all. Um, I still don't really like the 4 first round picks for him, but I get it. The East is weak. You want to compete. You're kind of tired of being in that middle tier of should we contend? Should we keep tanking? You have Paulo, have Franz, so I like the aggressive move from him. I know we'll get into that when we do standings and everything. Um, Yeah, he is their main shooter, and I think some of the points from Bane dropping was in Memphis that they were doing a new offense. I know we talked about it last episode. They had a
Yeah,
whole different like scheme and everything, so that also could have hurt him. Um, but yeah, he's gonna probably shoot. I just had his name pulled up. He had 6 3-point attempts next year. He's probably going to be closer to 10 this year, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if it is even more because he is going to be their shooter.
yeah,
That's what they brought KCP in for, and we saw how that kind of turned out. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be the perimeter player for the year. And I know Franz's shot has looked better in EuroBasket, or I've seen clips of it, but Desmond Bain is going to be probably their main perimeter shooter and player.
yeah. He's never been like, the guy that we had in like trade rumors to the Magic, but I really like getting him for Orlando. I think
Yeah,
with the way that he can play make 5 assists a game is nothing to, gloss over. With
he's
just the
also not
completeness
a
and the
negative
consistent,
defender.
yeah, with the completeness and consistencies of his game offensively, I think that he's a great pickup for the Magic. I think he's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
would
think
give
it's
I would give up 4 first-round picks, especially when like a lot of those picks project to be like late
later picks.
first-rounders.
See,
Yeah,
that's the thing about it. I don't like the 4 first round picks for him, but the fit is really good. So if you just told me they got Desmond Bain and didn't tell me the picks, I think it'd be a steal for him, like fit wise. But if those picks are, I know this year especially, if those picks are projected to be late picks, I guess it's okay. When you never know about late round talent, and I know we've been saying, which I don't know how many they have, but second round picks have been more important
yeah,
or more important now. But yeah, they I like the fit. It was just a 4 pick thing, but that aside, it's a great fit for Orlando,
yeah,
especially in them being a contender in the East with it being so weak this year.
yeah. It was definitely time for them to make a move.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
I,
Yeah,
yeah, I, I get it completely why they did that. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. Like,
yeah,
it
they,
ended up not going very well, but
mm,
if I were in Orlando's position and that was the offer presented to me, I would do the same thing.
yeah,
I would just
they've been the team in the East that's been either like a true point guard or like a true shooter away from being really good. And I know he's not a point guard, but his playmaking. I mean, I know they have the playmaking, but he is the shooting that they needed. He's probably the best shooter they could have got this offseason.
yeah, for sure.
Besides, I'm not even gonna say Duncan Robinson, but the
Yeah,
best shooter, the consistent shooter that you don't have to take off the floor if he's not making shots.
who shoots with volume and scores with volume. Like
Yeah,
he is the best guy that you could have gotten, I think. Yeah,
I agree.
for sure. Since you already gave Trey Murphy at number four, I'll give my number four. You touched on him. This is where I had Tyler Hero. I thought that Tyler Hero's season, like I said last year, was amazing. Just based on the tape, he really was the Heat's number one option last year. He, whenever he was healthy and on the floor, he was fantastic. And I think what separated him from that group of guys that are the minus defenders and 20 point per game scorers, kind of inefficient. Tyler Hero is a really good playmaker now. Like he averaged almost six
Yeah,
assists a game. He really showed the ability to orchestrate an offense last season. And even though Miami was a play-in team and they were not very good last year, he was like the catalyst of a lot of the reasons why they were still a decent team. And
yeah.
I think going forward, like he is the number one option. He's the clear-cut number one option at this point, with Bam being pretty limited offensively. I think we've seen like what Bam is at this point. Maybe he takes a few more threes, but I've kind of like the ship has sailed of him being like a volume three-point shooter
3-point
as
shooter.
a big
Yeah,
at this point. So I think a lot of the Heat's their offensive production is going to fall on Tyler Hero's shoulders. I think the addition of Norman Powell will help. I think having Davion Mitchell in the backcourt to be like the defensive point of attack defender will help as well. I think the Heat, I don't know, in a down Eastern Conference, I would expect that they would be a playoff team, but I don't see them like realistically contending at the top of the conference. But I do think Tyler Hero is an all-star once again this next year. I think that he will be really solid as long as he's on the floor. And I think that he still has another level scoring wise. I think that he could be kind of like in that Tyrese Maxey range where he scores like 26, 27 points next season.
yeah. He can give you those 35, 40 point games kind of whenever he wants. I don't know about All Star. I know he made it last year, but like I'm trying to think of guards who kind of could do it. Um, he could be actually. I know
I
if
could,
if Philadelphia's struggling again and Maxi's not playing well or he's kind of missing games like he was last year, I can see it again.
yeah,
Because
maybe our number three guy makes it this year, which I'm really glad you have him at number three.
I don't think he does.
You don't think so?
No, the number three guy. It hurt me putting him this high, but
I'm really glad you did. It's Derek White, by the way.
yeah, it's Derek White. The I think the main reason I had him this high is that's all on Tyler Hero. I mean, he could be an All Star. We'll have to see. It just kind of depends on how Miami looks. Derek White was really hard for me because the stats aren't there. If we're being like the stats aren't there, but he's efficient.
Counting stats, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, counting stats right there is efficient, but what he brings is really important. Like some days or not some days, some games it feels like he is the most important player on the team, and that's with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown playing. It's just what he does defensively. He makes the smart plays, rebounding, passes, makes big shots. Yeah, it hurt having him that high, but he is like a winning player. Like that's why I asked you about the role player question because I see him as a role player, but could he be an all star? Maybe with Tatum being out, Holiday not there, Porzingis not there. He's going to be their second option this year, or you would assume he is. We'll see how
Yeah.
We'll see what Anthony Simons does if he doesn't get traded.
Anthony Simons is a 20 point per game scorer. He is that. Like
Yeah,
he wherever he is, he will score 20 points a game as long as he has
maybe.
minutes to.
Yeah, and I've seen the Philly and Denver trade rumors. I don't like it. Anyway, maybe his role like it doesn't kind of pop out like on when you watch the games as much as it has before because they won't be winning a lot this year, or we assume they won't be winning a lot. But you know what you're getting with Derek White. Like there's been talks, maybe Orlando, that could have been a player that you would throw a lot for. Now Boston probably wouldn't do it, but that's one of the players that you would throw a lot for. Like maybe a Golden State would throw a lot for Derek White, things like that. But uh, yeah, I kind of set him at number three, but took the bias out of it. But yeah, I know the impact of Derek White. I've seen it firsthand a few times.
Yeah. I'm really interested to watch Derek White and the Celtics this next year to see, like you said, like how important to winning he really
He
is. Because
he
I think as long as he's on the floor, I think they are a playoff team still, even
he
without
shot
Tatum.
he shot 9 3 a game.
Yeah, I
That
expect
can definitely go
the same
up.
thing again.
I would say that can definitely go up. I haven't looked too much into it. That's why I'm really excited for the playoff, like the not the playoffs, the standings predictions we're gonna do, because ours could look completely different.
Yeah.
Like our whole Eastern Conference, even West can look completely different. I don't know. I've had him as a play-in team,
Okay.
but I don't like I said, I don't know with these because there's too many question marks. But um, if they are a playoff team and he's one of the big reasons, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I still think as long as Derek White is on the floor, like he is one of the best ceiling raisers in the league, but I think he also, as long as he's on the floor, the floor of the Celtics is not super low. Like I
Yeah,
think that their floor, as long as Derek White is playing, is nothing worse than, like you said, a play-in team.
yeah. I don't think they're missed completely. They're still better than like Washington, Charlotte, teams like that. But it's yeah. I know we'll get to it later on. But yeah, he's a good ceiling raiser, like you said.
Yeah. I still think he's the best number three option in the league whenever that team is fully healthy. I think that I am really interested to see like his increased offensive workload this year potentially.
They
Like
uh they
as
might.
as the primary like well, I don't know if I guess as Jalen Brown's still the primary perimeter ball handler, but he'll have an increased role. Well, a lot more will fall on his shoulders. He's been there for a while. Joe Mazzulla trusts him. How much on-ball creation does he do this year? Defensively, we know he's still great. Without Jason Tatum, how much of a defensive workload is thrown on to Derek White,
Yeah,
especially without Porzingis as well in the interior? I think it's like a really prove it year for like the how good we think Derek White really is. And I know he's a great player, but how good I guess I'll put it this way. How good of a player he can be outside of the role that he's been in. Like how
yeah.
adaptable can he be to where like, hey Derek White, we need you to be our number two guy now. Like for
Yeah,
us to like succeed in any capacity, you have to be our number two guy. That's
yeah,
just what it has to be. How well can he adapt to that role? And yeah, I think there's potential for him to be an all-star. Like, I don't think he'll be a guy who comes out and averages 23, 24 points or anything. I don't see that for him. But I think knowing the impact that Derek White has, I think that tw like a 19, 20 point per game season with like 6, 7 assists, I think that that's enough to, give Derek White an all-star nod in the Eastern Conference as long as the Celtics are staying afloat and he
yeah,
is like the main catalyst along with Jalen Brown of that.
yeah. That's why I like the All Star thing. I don't know. Just depends on how good Boston or how relevant they are. And Joe Mazzulla might just say, "Hey, we're going to try some new things. You're going to be the point guard tonight. Like, let him be the full time point guard this year because I don't think they're going to make a move to try to contend in the East. There's really no point in doing so.
Yeah.
Um, so this might be the year where they just kind of try different things. Try Jalen Brown in a different role or Derek White a different role. Really, the only two you'd probably want to try in a different role because that starting lineup is not pretty at all. We
Yeah.
expect Anthony Simons to get moved or be a trade piece sometime during the year. Um, yeah, I could see him being like shooting 10 threes a game, averaging 20 points. I can definitely see it, especially with an increased role. It's just, I don't want to knock them for the Celtics being bad, but we don't know yet. Like they could still be, like you said, a top 6 seed. Uh, with Missoula Ball just kind of live by the three, die by the three. So I would like to see him try the point guard role this year, not Anthony Simons. I know Anthony Simons is going to be the point guard right now, and I know they can kind of do on and off ball with each
Yeah.
other, maybe.
The way their offense is set up, like it's not like heavy pick and roll ball handling.
Yeah,
So like it's a very much five out. It's very much
driving kick
drive and
and
kick. Yeah.
yeah,
So I don't think
um,
like it'll matter that much who is like the like on paper the one and the two.
yeah. I know Jalen Brown's going to get. I don't want to say blitzed a lot. He's going to he's going to draw a lot of attention this year. He normally does. Like there's nights where he's the better scorer than Tatum. Or there was, but kind of I guess you do have to pay more attention to Derek White this year. You can't kind of he kind of won't just slip by you. And I know you game plan for him, but you're
Yeah.
not going to game plan for him with Porzingis there, with Tatum there, Brown, even Holiday some. So him kind of being on the scouting report probably as the second guy this year is really interesting to see kind of how he handles that.
That's a good point. Yeah, he will receive a lot more defensive attention than he has in previous years, for sure. Our top two is the same, I imagine. Donovan
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell at two, Anthony Edwards at one.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty easy. Let's touch on Donovan Mitchell first. He was great in the playoffs for the Cavs. Even in the series where they lost the Pacers, he was single-handedly keeping them in some of those games.
Yeah.
And it was just another, kind of run-of-the-mill really good season for Donovan Mitchell last year, 24 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 37% from three on 9 attempts, was all NBA second or third team, I believe.
I think second. I think.
Yeah, that's like your run-of-the-mill Donovan Mitchell season. I had the Cavs as my 8 seed going into last year. I was really dumb in doing so because they were the number 1 seed in the
One, yeah.
regular
I didn't know where I
season.
had him at.
Um, but yeah, Donovan Mitchell, I expect him to be like, as long as that Cavs core is the same, I expect him to be the same guy. I expect around the same numbers. And hopefully in next year's playoffs, he won't have to do as much as he did this
Yeah.
past year. Hopefully, like Evan Mobley has another offensive jump he can make. Darius Garland can provide more.
What
Adding
Woody Garland hurt
Lonzo
from this?
Ball may be something.
I forgot about that. I completely forgot
DeAndre
about that.
Hunter being there for a full year.
Yeah. If this year Jared Allen gets moved,
I don't think so. I think the Cavs, with the weakness of the Eastern Conference, I think they try to do it this year with their
see,
core. I think it's the
okay,
best chance they'll have. So
okay. That's why I said the East is weak. So let's say that they're the 1 seed. Would you want to go all in trading Jared Allen for maybe a wing? But I know they got DeAndre Hunter last year, so maybe not.
I think they should try one more time with this group.
Group,
With
okay.
the weakness of the East,
This is
uh,
definitely the best year. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think that if they made the finals, they would win it over one of the best Western Conference teams, whether that be OKC or like even a Denver and possibly even Houston. I'm not going to throw Houston in there yet, but that's
yeah,
another discussion for another time down the road. But I do think that Donovan Mitchell benefits from having two guys behind him who are really good defenders on the interior.
mm,
And I think that as long as Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley are behind Donovan Mitchell, they give him more freedom to do more offensively, which we saw in the
yeah,
playoffs he was able to do. And you don't want to rely on him solely, but I do think that Donovan Mitchell, being like that clear-cut number one guy offensively, is still a very big product of having two guys behind him defensively that take a lot of the stress off on that end of the floor.
yeah. I agree. He's not a bad defender. I don't want to but like you said, he kind of. I can't remember if Garland was hurt last year in the playoffs, or was that the
He had the jaw thing that he was still coming back from.
I said, what I know was it him and Jared Allen missed games, or was that the
Jarrett
Orlando
Allen
series?
missed the games, yeah, in the
That
playoffs.
was that in the Indiana series too, or just
Last year or
Orlando
this year?
this year?
This year, oh,
I can't remember who they played. I couldn't
yeah.
remember if he missed any time or not. I know last year
Gar
they did.
Garland missed games in the first round. I think, yeah, either Allen or Mobley missed a game or two in the
It might
second.
have been Mobley. Um, so you kind of just have to bank on them being healthy, and like I said, with the East being this week, I know we're going to keep saying it, but they could run away like I don't know. They could run away like Oklahoma City did last year. Maybe not as much with New York still being healthy at the top, and I'm assuming we'll probably have those two teams as 1 and 2.
Most likely.
But yeah, Donovan Mitchell kind of we know what he is. We know to bring his playoff riser. Uh, yeah, I think this is the last year with that group. I don't think he'll get moved. I mean, he probably outside of Mobley has the most trade value of the group. But
Yeah.
I don't see them moving him the way he's kind of played with them. I see him kind of trying to retool around him. Um,
Yeah, I think the
but
Cavs are definitely setting up for Evan Mobley to be the number one guy.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's what I said about the Jared Allen thing because Jared Allen and Darius Garland has been in trade talks the last year for sure, but like last 2 years a little bit. Um, but yeah, they playoff riser. You hit it on the spot. Kind of you know what he's going to bring. He can take over any game, anytime. Even against Boston 2 years ago, he kind of took over those games. I know that I think they only won maybe one, but he took over those games and he kind of showed that he could be, the number one guy on the team.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. And Anthony Edwards at number one for each of us. Biggest thing with Anthony Edwards last year, and it was a really big question we had going into last year, was who in the world is going to shoot threes for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Like,
He shot a lot of them.
he shot over 10 attempts from three and shot
Yeah,
almost 40% from three, where he just turned into Steph Curry for a season, which was incredible to watch. It was really, really awesome to see that progression from Anthony Edwards. and 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He is a top, would you say he's probably like a top 7, 8 player in the league now?
I would say so. Um, I was about to get bold, but I won't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say about 7 or 8, maybe even higher. Honestly, he could be top 5 this year if he shoots the ball again like that. Um, I know we have questions in Minnesota about. I know they lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but the scoring is going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged 30 this year. I really was shocked at the 10 3-pointer, 10 threes a game
I did not
because
expect that.
he's such a good mid range shooter and finisher too.
Yeah.
So he kind of I didn't realize that either. Like what's next for Anthony Edwards? That could be the question. But I mean, what has to be next? Maybe playmaking. He's still a good defender. But you have Mike Conley there, so you're not going to rely on him being the playmaker.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we've come a long way from the Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker wars we've had in the past, but I could definitely see him being top 5, and I doubt it happens. But he could be an MVP candidate. I know it's kind of crazy to say, but I don't. Well, not crazy to say, but crazy to say as in them being the 1 seed with how good Oklahoma City is, how good Denver could be.
Yeah.
I think they were the 3 seed last year, Minnesota, or was it 4?
They were the I think they were, yeah, they're the 3 seed. That's
Okay,
right.
I
They were.
couldn't remember, but he definitely can jump them into or bring them into like again one of the best teams in the league, and I'm assuming he's going to shoot 10 threes a game. He'll probably have to again this year. I don't think they brought any shooters in, but yeah, I guess that's we kind of know what Anthony Edwards is. He's really fun to watch. Probably he's one of my favorite guys in the league. Um, Not much really to say about him. Played 79 games. That's good to see of your star player playing almost every game.
Yeah. Yep. I can't even like pinpoint what the next jump would be for Anthony Edwards. I do think
I'd
he has
say
another level of somewhere
he
in
can
the
he
game.
can
Like I did
improve.
not think, I never thought coming out of college that he would be a guy who shoots over 10 threes in a season and shoots almost 40% from three. Like that's ridiculous to
Yeah.
think
See,
about.
that's like him and I know him and Max here were in the same draft class. That's like stuff coming out now of like because I don't think Jared McCain was that way, but players coming out, oh, they're not a great shooter in college. Like in a few years, that can drastically change in the
That's
NBA.
the hope for Shaedon
Uh,
Sharp.
yeah, I mean it's kind of weird to say, but yeah, I did not know he shot almost 40% on 10 3-point attempts. But that really shocked me when I saw it. Like he was my number 1 coming in, like no doubt. But seeing that, like, kind of,
Yeah.
it really surprised me.
I think the biggest thing with him is at this point, like a regular season, I think he's got it at this point. Like he's a fringe all NBA first team player. We
Yeah,
did see some moments in the playoffs last year, especially in that Western Conference Final series against the Thunder, where he played timid a lot of the time. And you can credit some of that to the way the Thunder defended him,
yeah,
gapped up defensively. But Anthony Edwards, there were halves in that series where he only took like one shot attempt or two shot attempts in the entire half.
yeah.
And from a guy
I
who can score as prolifically as Anthony Edwards can and is the number one option, clear number one option on that team, like he has to like be
go get it.
ultra
Yeah,
aggressive. Like if Anthony Edwards is aggressive all the time, he is a first team all NBA caliber player.
every
But
year. Yep.
we saw moments in the playoffs last year where he was not that guy. And I
I
think I think that's the next step.
I can't really even fault him for it. With as good as Oklahoma City's defense was last year, and
Yeah.
that's probably one of the best defenses that we've seen,
It,
really,
it doesn't
in
fall
recent
completely
memory.
on his shoulders. It
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah. It doesn't, but like you said, but when he's in that zone though, like when he's on and he's not timid, like you said, or kind of he's aggressive, like he didn't care what kind of defense is on him, or he's hot and he's like hitting every shot. It's really fun to watch, and he can definitely he can hit 5 shots in a row. He
yeah.
could dunk on somebody and come down and hit 2 threes in a row.
Like there are moments when it doesn't matter what kind of defense is being
Yeah,
played. Like you can just see like the energy just
it's the
clicks
click.
within Anthony Edwards, and he can just like run through an entire defense and get to the
Yeah,
rim at will, which isn't always the case. But we do see those flashes of his ability to do that, and if it's something that can happen more consistently, I think that that could be a big reason why the Timberwolves could potentially take the next step and finally make it out of the Western Conference.
if it happened more consistently, he definitely would jump higher in the like top 5 or it's kind of hard to say the top five,
Yeah,
or I think the top four, top three set, but
yeah.
he definitely, if he improves on that, he definitely can be up there and have Minnesota. I don't know how far they go with Rudy Gobert as the center.
You
I
think
mean, we
that's what's
know
holding them back?
I don't want to say necessarily holding him back because it's kind of funny because he went off against the Lakers, kind of
Yeah.
offensively, but
One of the
like
craziest games I've ever seen.
his offense is so bad, and I get what he brings defensively, but it's just his offense. I don't want to say it holds them back, but some games it feels like it holds them back. But I don't think it hold them back necessarily with Ant being there. I guess Chris Finch
Yeah.
is one of the better coaches. I know we've talked about him the last few years. So yeah, I can see Minnesota definitely making it to the finals again, as long as Ant's kind of in that zone and not playing timid like you said.
Yeah. And this is in no way me saying I think Anthony Edwards has like motor issues or anything. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah, yeah,
They're just moments where, he's a little more passive and a little more unwilling to, get into the mode of like score first whenever it's so clear that the team needs him to be in score first mode.
yeah,
Also, to what you said, I do think there are times talking about the Timberwolves and Rudy Gobert where like it doesn't matter really in a series against the Lakers, who are not a very good defensive team. But
yeah,
whenever you have a really good defense like the Thunder, who are able to hone in on one guy on the floor being like a non-factor offensively, it does create so much more gap attention to be placed on Anthony Edwards.
yeah,
And I do think I do think that's a good point that can be raised. I don't think that like I don't think Rudy Gobert is necessarily like the singularity that's
yeah,
holding the Timberwolves back from reaching the NBA Finals. I don't think it gets to that point, but I do think it creates problems like offensively at times where
yeah,
Anthony Edwards is limited in driving lane potential and especially like Rudy Gobert is not a good pick and roll big either. And Julius Randle being like the other big who's on the floor most of the time is not really a pick and roll big either. Anthony
yeah,
Edwards, like I think he could benefit so much in having a guy who he can run pick and roll with. Naz Reid is like the best potential option, but we know Naz Reid likes to pick and pop more than anything.
yeah.
So I do think that that has been an element of Anthony Edwards' game that has not been really unlocked to this point. And with their current personnel, I don't think that they have the potential to do that.
Mhm.
But I don't think that that's what's holding them back.
I
I
didn't.
I just think I think the Thunder were just a better team.
Yeah, I don't want to
Thunder were just a better
necessarily
team last
necessarily
year.
say holding them back. Um, but like, because that Thunder defense, I know me and you talked about it a lot last year. The Thunder defense was really good, probably the best we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
So I don't fault him for that because we saw the Lakers game, but it's not saying much when it's Jackson Hayes across from you.
hmm
Um,
Jackson Hayes.
so it's just with Rudy, it's like you get those moments where he should make a layup, but he misses the layup. He really hard. He'll hit you an occasional, maybe one post fade a year. I know
Mm.
we saw that. Was that last year's playoffs, the year before last? He had a
Yeah, that
post
was
fade, and it
2020,
was
2024.
yeah, and it was kind of like just the shocked face, Like I said, I don't want to necessarily say he's holding them back because of the defense, but I think we talked about it last year. It would have been better if they would have kept Cat, but they couldn't. They wasn't going to trade 4 or 5 first round picks for Rudy and then trade him
Yeah.
that quick. So yeah, they I definitely see Ant kind of willing. I don't want to say willing because they're a good team, but being the main reason for them to be a top seed again in the West.
Yeah. I do think that there's something to be said of why the Timberwolves play teams like the Nuggets and the Lakers so much better than they play like the elite defensive teams
Mm-hmm.
like the Thunder.
Yeah,
It's because they can exist with Rudy Gobert being on the floor offensively and not be like super bogged down to the point where whenever they do get to the other end of the floor, they have an advantage because they don't have to rely on all five guys being real viable options offensively on the other end. I hope that made sense, but that's just a
yeah,
little ramble about Anthony
yeah,
Edwards and the potential of the Timberwolves.
yeah. I didn't want to say holding them back. I know it sounded like it, but it's just could definitely be a lot better.
Yeah. I think that'll wrap it for shooting guards, though. This was really fun. Um, Yeah, I really always am excited to do this one. I think small forwards will be fun next week whenever we do that because there are a lot of newcomers. There are a lot of guys who are in positions to really explode to I think breakout candidates on that list will be aplenty. So I'm excited about next week's list as
Yeah,
well.
I'm gonna have another high guy on my list next week. I mean, yeah, on next episode, I'll have another player
I
that I
bet
was
there will
like,
be multiple. I bet there
yeah,
will be multiple right now.
ready for this Kelly Oubre agenda I got to push this year.
Yeah, you're by yourself with that one. Thanks for watching this week's episode though, y'all. We'll close this one out. Jacob, you got anything to say before we close?
Nothing much. I think season's coming up. Training camp in October, I think. Like
Yeah,
another month and a half,
we're
maybe, or a month.
still we're still about 2 months out from the season, a little less than
Regular
two
season,
months.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, this time of the off season tends to go by pretty quickly, especially with like the start of football too, and
yep,
the more regularity that we put these episodes out with, it does seem like it goes by quicker, and the regular season comes pretty quick. So yes, small forwards next week. Y'all stay tuned for that, and we'll see y'all then. Peace out.
yep.